Yo, what's up, guys? Time for one final tier list, which is my most wanted LD5 tier list in 2026. Looking at 2025, things definitely did change a bit. For example, a Julian. Wait, it's a little bit off the screen for you guys over here. Now you can see it. Julian is definitely not as good anymore. Same for like the Burkild, but there's definitely a lot of units. Like Zeratul is a little bit worse right now. So there's definitely a few units that are lower on the wanted list right now. But let's look what the wanted list would be for 2026. Of course, they will change a balance patch and that kind of good stuff. But let's just see where it goes to right now. And if you can claim me a crazy sacker at the end of the year. For all of the tiers, I will also be placing the units from the order left to right. So I'm not going to be doing any timestamps because I'm going through this video a lot faster. So whatever you see left to right, if you see anything in order and you want to hear about a particular one, just find the order in here. Simple as that, order of release. I also will be placing the units left to right for how much I want them within the tier itself. So there's definitely a difference in that. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So Sean, I would say I would give it a try to use it. I do have good crit damage slot 4 for him on that will set, so that would definitely give him a little bit of value to give him a try, but I don't think he will be used that much, but it's mainly like an RTA-ish kind of unit. I think Zeratul, I would definitely rune one. I think Zeratul is definitely still good. It's just the people that are used to Zeratul being an insane sacking unit where you're stunned and you're still healing and you proc out and you heal even more and then you start killing things. Like, that's the only part that is kind of gone. But I think the part that it is nerfed right now isn't really a weak part. So I definitely do think that a Zeratul is still pretty strong in there. But I would say kind of niche because he does need pretty good runes to actually shine. But no, actually, I will bump him up to wood use. Definitely for RTA right there. Han, I do have a good bit of dark LDs, so... But then again, I think Han doesn't really fit that well in the current draft that I'm doing. So unless I get a wound, so I think Han would be used, but would not be a super high wanted in all honesty. Whereas last year he was one of the higher wanteds. Yeah, absolutely insane. He was back then. But right now, I give Han more of a high would be used kind of scenario. And of course, just RTA. Achroma is a dupe, and it's a dupe. I would be, if I didn't have the unit, I would be probably placing it in the would be used, but a low would be used kind of scenario because it's good for siege, clean offense hit right there, and it's also still usable in RTA. Trinity, I would say, would be used, but then we're mainly talking about like some kind of niche-ish arena offenses, maybe a weird cleave here and there. And that is about it. So that's probably some niche arena offense is the main thing that I would use it for. But it's... No, actually, I would say would almost never be used. Yeah, no, I wouldn't use that much. Unless I get a crack, then you go for like Trinity crack combo, then it would be used. But outside of that, no. Sarath, I wouldn't be against having a Sarath. For farming, it's definitely very chill. And yeah, no, I think I can really bolt a really insane Sarath. Plus, I would give it a try in arena offense as well. It's definitely more of a RTA or a PvE unit than it is for arena offense and that kind of stuff, because I already have a lot of options for arena offense, but I wouldn't be against it. Grogan, I would say it's... I would use it, but is it a super high wanted if I didn't have it? Sure, it's a really good unit, but I think in the end, Zyros can kind of do his job pretty well as well. Julian, I would say definitely Julian would be used. And I think Julian is actually kind of underrated as 5th pick. Sure, he needs pretty good runes to shine. But there is a fair bit of drafts these days where Julian would definitely shine. And the units that were hard countering Julian and taking Julian out of the meta actually left the meta itself as well. Sure, pushbacks do really mess him up with the Venton and stuff, sure. But in the end, a Wind Zenitsu, not that common. The Fire Twin Angels, not that common. So I think a good Julian, I would definitely give Julian would be used. Cadiz, I would say almost never used, to be honest. Like, sure, he's... No, I think he's kind of ass, like, to be honest, yeah. Eludia, I would say, is a niche mid, would be a niche usage here and there. Sure, I would definitely give it a few tries to make things work, but in all honesty, I think this bird doesn't add that much unless you also have like a Lucifer and you can go for the whole shenanigans on that kind of stuff. Jara, I think same thing. Jara, I would probably put towards like a siege defense. The only siege defense that I actually do know with Jara is the Chandra Ternis with a Jara, which is used by Aftermath EU. and a bunch of other kills, but mainly Aftermath EU. They have been spamming that one for a while, so I would maybe place it in there. It's not really a great defense, in all honesty, but it is a something. And then I would use it towards Temple of Chaos, but that's about it. Artemil, I think Artemil is still in a weird position where he has the always crit on counters, but Death Breaks really mess him up super hard. So I would say probably a mid usage as well. I would kind of place it in here. I would rune it up for RTA, but just like that. Then we have Fermion. I think I would say niche usage, but kind of mid. It's a siege offense unit for me in all sense, and that's just pretty much as good as it gets. Lima I would definitely place all the way at the bottom of my dupes, because this is, for what I use for my dupes, the least used dupe out there. Gianna is definitely one of the highest up, because it's just a crazy good unit. There's nothing too much to say about it. Laura, well, Laura goes straight to the top. If I'm pulling Laura, I'm an absolute sacker, because Laura would be crazy good for my Maximilian in siege defense. It will be really good for my arena defense. It will be really good for my RTA, even like really crazy for my RTA together with the Gojo, because Gojo on speed buff already knows that with Ashe it's doing so much damage. If I go Laura, Gojo plus a Phantom, everything is dead without me even stripping things, because there's just too much additional damage artifacts from multi-hits coming in that way. So Laura's definitely all the way up top, and I don't think anyone will overtake it. Nikki, I will give Nikki probably, to be honest, for how much I use it right now, Nikki is actually kind of over here. It's used less than these two. Some people might say Nikki's definitely higher, but I'm not a big Nikki fan in current playstyle. It's just not really adding too much to the table. In a lot of cases, just going for an NFL, being the right element against fire, having the slow, having the death break, adds so much more value than what Nikki does. So I'll put Nikki a low one over here. Asima, I would definitely use it, but I think it's more of a niche kind of... I think I will put her on the high niche usage. I would probably use her in some kind of siege offense hit with like her, Tiana, and then like a Robo or something, like the light Robo is an option. Or yeah, I think that would be probably the main thing that I would do with her. But it's a unit that's kind of all around everywhere, but I wouldn't really use it that much. Kraka, I would definitely say the same thing, but it's more towards siege defense than siege offense, but I think I place Kraka somewhere over here. And then most of the time it's like a Lamila plus Kraka plus 1, that's kind of a thing. Jaeger, I think I would rune up a Jaeger for... Would I rune up a Jaeger for RTA? No, I think I would give that 2-3 tries and then be like, no, this unit is actually kind of ass. So I give him some value that I would probably give him some usage here and there as a siege offense unit, but that's kind of there. Light Monkey, I think I would definitely rune up a Light Monkey for... as a 5th pick, but just as a 5th pick. He's relatively easy to rune, so I definitely will give him a bunch of credit for that. No, actually, I would say I would use him, because I use a lot of fast-paced strippers, so you can then also use a fast-paced monkey to just follow up right after those strippers and then have some pretty good CC in that. So yeah, I would actually say Light Monkey. I would use the Light Monkey, but he's definitely just a 5th pick. Ragdoll is absolutely insane. If I pull that one, I'm still a big Ragdoll fan, especially since we have a lot more AoEs coming in right now. Ragdoll is so strong. It is really strong right now if you go for the combo of like Ragdoll, Angela, Abellio, like you really mess up all Phantons and that kind of stuff. But it's also if the enemy takes the first turn, they crit once or twice and your whole team takes over if you're playing a turn 1 kind of comp, just because of the Ragdoll giving bar to the whole team. So yeah, Ragdoll's definitely a high wanted, but Laura is absolutely a higher wanted for me right there. Songqing Lao, I think he goes to the top of my dupes. It's absolutely a super all-round, very strong unit. Would definitely like this one, especially if Phantom gets nerfed, then Songqing Lao gets a lot more shine once again. It's also a good unit for defense, both both the arena and siege, so it's a really good unit all around. Shazam, I think I would just put a Shazam towards defense, but I feel like Shazam is kind of niche-ish. I don't really feel like Shazam is that great. And then we're talking siege defense, and to be honest, Raoul is kind of same for me. Like, sure, I would probably put it... No, I think I wouldn't even put it higher than this, because any defense with Raoul I've seen thus far is either Leo food, or it is straight up Hey Gang food. And I haven't seen a single one yet. Maybe you can let me know in the comments one if you think about one. But I haven't seen a single Raoul defense yet that is not just like, oh, easy to Hey Gang, oh, easy to Feng Yang, or either one of the two. And even if those two options are out, you most of the time can still Adriana plus Sonya or Rigna that. So that's a lot of options right there. Yan Hong, I think Yan Hong goes in the second position over here. I do mainly use Asher as speed contester in RTA right now. Replacing that for Yan Hong, especially with Yan Hong Gianna combo, would be really, really strong for me. So Yan Hong absolutely goes over here. Laura is still higher wanted, but Yan Hong is a very close one that comes right after over there. Wu Yong, however, I would say for how much I use it, I would probably place it over here. I do have a new offense for the next Reno Brush that I will give a try, which is going to be triple booster into a Lucian, which is going to be Kabila, Wu Yong, then a Mephisto, and then a Lucian, so you don't really care that much about the Vanessas. I think that might be a decent one, or I'm just going to be trying out the Wu Yong plus Kabila plus double Lucian. It's similar to what I did with the Brenos prior, and it was actually working better than I expected, so I want to give that a try with Lucians and see if that's good enough damage, or you actually need the RNG of the high check of a Reno to actually do enough damage, but we shall see about that. Nigong goes all the way to the bottom. Like, to be honest, I haven't used Nigong in ages. The only place that I use Nigong is in the Taurus boss, like in Labyrinth, but even over there, you could have used an Eladriel. It's like nearly the freaking same. So yeah, that's just that. Then we have a Wunsa. I think Wunsa could place on high wanted. I'm personally not the biggest of Wunsa fans, but since I got that crit damage slot 4, which is super high on speed, that does kind of fit on the Wunsa. So therefore, Wunsa becomes more interesting for my playstyle. Plus, we're a little bit back in an AoE CC kind of meta, and then you need AoE strips, and Wunsa in the end is still one of the better AoE strips. It is definitely a little bit where I would say Triton does do a really good job at it right now as well with the 50% pushback. So that's... Wunsa does have his fair counter, so therefore he doesn't become like an insane pull, but he's definitely a high wanted right there. El Sharian is free to play. As a dupe. Like, let's just actually not care about the free to play units. Simple as that. Lydia, I would say Lydia straight up Storage Guardian. Like, that's the very first one that I would never use. I really don't like the unit. Polar Queen, I think she is niche and nice in the right position. But it's also one of those units, like, when does she actually fit rather than just doing someone, or like, rather than drafting someone else that can do the same job or better. I would, however, definitely probably use it in a scenario where, no, that's actually kind of cool. I could use her plus Light Siri plus Adriana if they are in a slow team. I would definitely use that. So that's... No, I would drop Rona would be used, even over here, because I can think of some siege offenses which would be kind of cool with her as well, where you just double boost the nuker and those kind of things. And yeah, I can definitely see some would be used over there. Plus, RTA late pick, she would definitely be a good RTA late pick as well. So actually, no, I'm going to be boosting up her a little bit. Pontus would definitely be used, but personally, I'm not a big Pontus fan. It would probably, yeah, I would probably Nem Will a Pontus if I were to use one. I can build a pretty fast Nem Will set for Pontus, so it's probably something along the lines for Siege that we use for that. Manananan, I have seen Manananan being useful for Temple of Chaos. Apparently it does do better in a team one than some of the other users out there. It's also a good replacement for like Fire Gojo and stuff. But until he actually clears waves, he's not really good for PvE, so I'll just give him a high wood, like almost never used kind of style, because he's just good at one particular thing, but he's not really very good at it. Sylvia, I would definitely drop on a high wanted. In the end, it's a really fun siege offense and siege defense unit, and I know I will make my guild very happy if I randomly pull this one, so... I think I'll place it over here. Like, if we're talking a blessing between these two, I will probably pull a Sylvia. If I have a blessing between these two, my heart still goes out towards RTA. So that's kind of over there. The Bay. There are a few good debate players out there, but some of the times also they are kind of struggling. I think it is a decent unit, but I'll give it a niche would be used, but not really crazy good, to be honest. With Jet, I think in all honesty, with Jet would go for almost never used. I feel like I could use it together with the Light Gojo because of the defense buff, but then you have 2 units with speed leads and 2 units of speed leads that don't add an insane amount of value to the draft itself, like right away. So I'm really kind of a Jet hater. Ever since the Jet healing was nerfed and him just not fitting as much in the meta, I'm not a big fan of Widget. So Widget, I'll give it... No, the thing is, like, I wouldn't really like to give Widget runes. Like, that's the thing. Like, if I actually want to draft Widget, I would have to give it like a 225, 230 speed set. And I don't think I would. So I'm literally going to be dropping you to almost never used. Isis, I would say niche, but all the way at the back. It does have AoE of Oblivion, but we have more units with AoE of Oblivion right now in Driana, so definitely doesn't get that much uses because of that. Neftis, I think Neftis goes up to here. Or do I go in front of Gianna? No, actually, I would go in front of Gianna. I would say Zhongshan Lao is, in my opinion, still better, but this thing is just super, super all-round. Zhongshan Lao doesn't have as many replacements for what he does specific. Neftis does have like a few worse replacements, but the replacements are kind of there. So, yeah, Neftis I would put over there. Oberon, I would say definitely Oberon I would use it. More of a late pick, more of a nuker in siege, those kind of things, but I would definitely use it. I think it's more of a late pick. I would probably also make it as a Leo counter on like a Nem Nem Will or anything like that. But yeah, something along those lines. Nyx in current state of the game, I would place Nyx here right after Gianna. Nyx is overall just very solid, very good. Well, to be honest, for how much I use Nyx compared to Gianna, I think it is fair that I put Nyx in front. That is just a fair statement. Tianlang, I would say Tianlang goes pretty much before the Nyx. Yeah, we go before the Nyx. For how much I would like that unit if I didn't have it already, I'll put it in front of the Nyx. That's definitely a thing right there. This one is actually quite hard nerfed. It's definitely noticing the damage reduction not being as strong. I still think it is a good last pick. So I would definitely still keep it ruined. He's easy to ruin because of the high base speed. So I would definitely keep it ruined. And I would definitely use RTA, maybe some siege hits in offense here and there if I kind of want to bruise things out. I do see the potential for him, but he's a low would be used, I would say. Celia, I think that I could see a siege defense with her, but to be honest, I think she would be in... whoops, she's definitely not a dupe. I think she would be a storage guardian. Like, to be honest, she just ass. Light Pony, I think she is definitely one of those most overrated units out there. Sure, she is crazy good if... Yeah, like if Sonya goes for an S2 and it misses and therefore you win, sure. But in the end, her healing is super mediocre. And outside of that, like sure, the immunity is there. But in any bruiser fight, the enemy with better healers such as like an Angela or an Abellio or anything like that will absolutely out-heal you and absolutely smack you just by just single target damage focusing and that kind of stuff. So I would probably place her... Yeah, I would still place her over there. But I think she's quite overrated. Like, she's good, but she's definitely overrated as well. Vivachel. Vivachel has been used a lot by a lot of players. I would definitely say Vivachel is nice. It is high wanted. I would probably go for a crit rate plus 100 res set on her. And it would definitely make it viable. I wouldn't go for like a swift speed contesting because... The thing is with the swift speed contesting Vivachel, if you outspeed the enemy, it's just super awkward. So as Vivachel, you really have to have the right tuning in comparison to your enemy, but you don't really know your enemy speed, especially because you don't know what they will draft or you will draft plus what will they ban plus what will you ban. So there's a lot of options for that for Vivachel to be getting a little bit awkward. There are a few siege defenses with Vivachel as well. I've seen a few with like Chakra, because then Vivachel counters where they cannot get Leo, so you go for like a Chakra plus Lamila and then Vivachel or something like that. There's definitely a few options out there. But yeah, Vivachel, I would definitely use that. Alexandra, I think I would probably give it a try. No, actually, I would give it like a hit over here somewhere. Alexandra would definitely use in some siege offenses if the enemy has 0 sustain at all. And I would give it a try towards my arena defense. I think with the units that I have for arena defense, it wouldn't be the worst out there. Leona, well, straight Storage Guardian. And I think in this order, it's also, well, I would say Storage Guardian in this order is fair. Phalantis, I'm not a big Phalantis fan because you need to have a Despair set faster than all of your other units on Despair. I am decently fast on Despair, but he's still having somewhat of a struggle. So it's kind of in the mid. If I can make a good Despair set faster than all of my other units, I would definitely have to slow down things by a lot for that. But you already need so many good Despair. You need your Layla on Despair, you need your Chakra on Despair, you need a Heigang on Despair, you need a Juno on Despair, then you need this thing on Despair. It's just too much, so I'll give it like a niche. Maybe in some scenarios I would use it, but I'll give it a niche use because it's just RTA and just that. I would say Pader is a high wanted one, but I'll give Pader a high wanted over here. It's definitely a good RTA unit. I've seen some siege offense if it is the right like interaction with the enemy stripping and kind of things. But it's mainly an RTA unit, and I still think in the current meta where there's a lot of stuns, he is a pretty solid RTA unit right there. So I'll give it a high wanted, but it is not something I would draft all the time. So I think a Sylvia, no, I'll put it in front of Sylvia. Geldnir, I think that Geldnir would just fit on some. I would keep it runed up for RTA, because there are some drafts where Geldnir is actually really good. No, actually, I would... yeah, I will place it over here. I would be using that. It's really niche drafted in RTA, but also really good siege offense. It's siege defense. It's still usable. It's not great at the moment, but since it also has some RTA value, which Rohul doesn't have, I would claim him in the would be used. No, actually, I would say this. This is what I would place him in. Hertite, I would say probably would be a almost never used. Like, there's some scenarios where he's kind of okay, like Rift Beast and stuff, but he's just weird that he doesn't work in Temple of Chaos. If he were to work in Temple of Chaos, I would probably bump him up all the way to here, because I think if his skill would work in Temple of Chaos, it would absolutely wreck Temple of Chaos as well. So that's kind of a thing. Bella, I think Bella, for how much I use Bella in the end, she literally deserves to be pretty much there. Like, I really, like, last year I was still a little bit hyped on Bella, but Bella just doesn't really fit the meta. Her whole skill kit, where her S4 is now more speed scaling and shit, it doesn't make any sense with her additional damage artifact kind of style that she was trying to do. It's really just a unit that I'm, like, really lost its shine, really lost the meta, really lost its value in there. So Bella just put all the way down there. Lucifer, I would say Lucifer is a high wanted. It is good for PvE, it is good for arena offense, but arena offense is a little bit in the mid of, like, can I actually make like a good arena offense with it, because there are that many shield sets around there which kind of make it hard to make him shine. But I definitely would like a Lucifer, because it also makes my Giants team just a lot easier, and it is also still good for Temple of Chaos, so there's definitely a bunch of places where I would like to use a Lucifer. So I think I bump Lucifer up to high wanted up here. Or, well, if I had a blessing between Lucifer and these, no, I would go for these in front. Beelzebub, I think Beelzebub is pretty decent in current meta, and I think I will bump him up here. And the only thing I really dislike about Beelzebub is that the artifacts that he mainly needs, which are the attack on revive, you cannot get those anymore. And that's just really one of those stupid things which I think Countess should address. Because anyone that starts playing after those artifacts were released, you really cannot make a Beelzebub work. And then you might ask, like, okay, what is the backup if you don't have attack on revive? Well, that is attack or speed on lost HP. Guess that you don't you cannot get those anymore as well. So that's just all of the artifacts. Really, like, if I pulled him and I still have those artifacts, he's definitely up here. If you cannot get those artifacts, he's probably, like, definitely dropping down a bit. But yeah, that's definitely something Countess should address, and maybe I should address it to Countess in, like, a feedback round again or something. I don't know. But yeah, Beelzebub is definitely having a weird spot for artifacts that you can farm with, and his artifacts are super important. Idral. Nasha, I would say, is super hard to rune. I would definitely say that I would use it for some siege defense. Maybe, no, siege offense, not as much. RTA, not as much. I think I'll give it a super high, like, niche would be used. It's just that she's too hard to rune. Like, sure, I probably have some runes for it, but is she worth those runes? Like, that's the big question. Siana, I think Siana in the meta where we get back towards AoE CCing, it's definitely not a bad unit. She's definitely usable, plus I always tend to use her for... No, actually one upper over this. I tend to always use her for siege offense. She is usable in arena offense. She is usable in RTA if you put good runes to it. I'm actually planning to play her in RTA again with the current playstyle with the Gojo that I'm doing. So yeah, Siana is definitely a very solid unit right there. Humble, I think Humble goes pretty much up here. Because Humble, in the end, it is a very niche best in slot in one particular offense, which is the Deborah Galleon plus a... was it with a Leo? No, Deborah Galleon Tiana is what I used. And that it is only against Leo teams that don't do anything to mess me up. It is very specific, but then again, it is at least used, whereas these two are not used. Though Lima I could use, I just don't really give it runes to. That's more the thing. Mugwol, to be honest, I would throw that in the storage. Like Loki, I would throw that as a high storage guardian, but I really don't like the unit. I would probably never have it. No, I would give it an almost never runes. Because if we compare it to Wajet, I could give that some runes. Talisman would be used. I would definitely keep it runed for RTA as a late pick in case needed. In Siege offense would definitely be used, but Arena offense, I might still lean more on Grogan because my Grogan does do enough damage as well in most cases. So I would probably keep it ruined up as well, but that's the thing. Grogan most of the time would do enough damage anyhow, so I don't really need Talisman damage. And that's, maybe it's a rune quality thing, maybe it's Grogan being 16 times buffed thing, I don't know. Van Cleef, I would say I would probably use it, but I give it a low would be used. I would keep it room for RTA, maybe on just a weird Swift build on like a 210 or 215 to outspeed things in case needed. And for Siege, I've seen some hits with Van Cleef as well. You can go pretty creative. I've seen people just go like Van Cleef plus an Isabel and like a Dark Robe or something weird. Like there's definitely a few options that you could go for, which kind of do work with Van Cleef. It's crazy good, not really. I think I place it all the way up the top of niche, because I'm not the biggest Van Cleef fan myself, but I guess I would be using it. Greg, I think Greg is quite underrated. I think Greg has a lot of options. I would definitely place Greg in defense, because you can still place that with the Odin and Chandra. It's a little bit of an outdated team, but still, that is the strongest version of the Odin plus Chandra team. Plus, in normal arena, it is definitely having some usabilities. Well, you kind of would need, I would say, it's like the Trinity plus the Crack to actually go full on damage. But I could see a few ways where you could still go for Crack and do a good bit of a damage setup for like a Lucian, because he has some chip damage on the enemy. Plus in RTA, yeah, I would say overall, I think he's decent in all kinds of places, but if you find the right fit for him, he's actually a lot better than people give him credit for. So I'll give Greg a would be used, and I think I would up you over this. I think something along this line. No, actually, I would down you a little bit as well. Yeah, I think something along these lines. Gurkha, I would say I would give Gurkha a mid. I would definitely keep Gurkha ruined up at a triple revenge, because it might actually be really strong. Plus, I think it is actually very strong with the Seimei, and I do have Seimei. So I think I'll give Gurkha actually pretty high up. I think Gurkha is somewhat underrated, but especially since I have Seimei. Seimei itself, I would give Seimei... Ooh, where do I place her for how much I use her? I think just above, not just above Sian. I think just above Sian is fair for Seimei. It's just overall good unit. Dumon, it's not really the meta where Dumon shines that much, but I would definitely keep it ruined on just a simple Swift set for RTA. And it's definitely one of those things, like often when you draft it in, it's like, ooh, I like if you play some kind of weird-ass bruiser, they have to ban it. And I like the value of a have to ban on my slot 5. So Dumon, I would definitely give a would be used for that. Onyuki, I think Onyuki is a little bit underrated, but where would I place an Onyuki? It's, you really, like if you go for RTA, you really have to go very specific draft. I know some people going for like Crack plus Onyuki, which is not that bad, but for me personally, I would probably not really use it all too much, because you mainly have to pair it with AoE Death Break. I do have an AoE Death Break in you. But would I think I would rather just place a Siana for more pushbacks and that kind of stuff. So I think I'll throw it at like a mid usage, but yeah. Dorothy, I think in all honesty, I would almost never use Dorothy. I've seen some Siege kind of niche. I could use it in some Siege offense hits here and there, and that is about as crazy as it gets for me on her, I would say. Kiki, I could place towards inter-server defense, but I think my inter-server defense at current state is probably better. I would probably use it for some Siege offense hits. So, and Siege defense is not as good anymore as well, especially due to Nabaras and shit. But I could see a world where it could maybe do a thing here or two. So Kiki, I'm just going to be placing around Armio-ish. Daniel, not the biggest Daniel fans, but I can see potential for him doing a lot of damage. I just don't like it where he needs a strip, full pushback, and then something going in. It is nice next to the Driana, because Driana sets attack bar back to 0, which is kind of decent. But then you have to go Tiana, Driana, and then this. That's a lot of Driana, Tiana. Diana, Jesus, fuck, man. Okay, either Daniel goes around this position. Jackson, I think I will keep him root for RTA, but I think I'll give Jackson a round here. Like, he can be good for RTA here and there if the enemy has a lot of pushbacks. Ella is definitely a very strong unit, but is she a high wanted unit though? No, I think I would place her all the way at the top of would be used. Mainly just RTA, but I don't think she fits my play style that I'm currently doing as much, but she's definitely an annoying unit, so I'll give it like a high would be used, but I don't really like her play style that much, so therefore she's not a high wanted, I would say. Maya, I would probably say somewhere here at the bottom. Like, still don't really like her value, sure. She would just be a dark tank for some siege offenses here and there, and that's pretty much as generous as I go for her. This thing, have seen some people nuke stuff with it. I wouldn't really use it towards RTA, so it's more of like a siege offense hit, but it's kind of a mid usage anyways. Maximilian, I think Maximilian is not bad in current meta, but he also kind of has issues in current meta where I would place one up on this one. But yeah, he definitely has his issues as well, because there's so many counters to AoE. Abelio just counter you. You have Megumi countering you. There's just a lot of those kind of counter things coming in. Shun, I definitely don't think I would like Shun. I think I place you a little bit higher, but Shun is just too much RNG for my liking. I don't like it. This thing, the Oliver without speed lead, I would probably give you the... wait, where did I place you? Oh, over there. Lima was seated over here. Ritsu is potentially usable, but it's just like, it's really not that great. Veronica, I actually wouldn't mind a Veronica. I think I will place Veronica all the way up here. As a late pick speed lead at just 210 speed or something like that, I would definitely kind of like a Veronica, in all honesty. I think she's definitely not as bad as people claim. Like, people are like, sure, she misses all the time. It's like, yeah, but any strip unit can miss. But if she lands, it's still really, really good. So I think I would maybe lower her down a little bit. I think I would place her over here as a would be used, but not really a high wanted. Destiny, I would just place her in the would be used because I think she's that fucking cool that I would force her in to be used. It's not a would be used because she's good. It's a would be used because I feel like in my opinion, she's one of the coolest units in game. Audrey, I think I would use an Audrey as well, but it's more of a niche unit. So I would go for niche bruisers in siege offense, niche RTA matchups where she's hard to get to kill and then she can heal and that kind of stuff. So I would definitely give Audrey some usage here and there. Giselle, I would definitely use a Giselle. I would say more towards siege. Maybe a siege defense. Well, there's not actually that good of a siege defense at the moment. It would be more of a arena defense unit. So for arena defense, it's mainly her arena defense value that's kind of up there. So I will place her probably somewhere along the lines of one higher than this. So probably over there. This thing, straight to storage. Worst unit in game. This thing, pretty much straight to storage. Is a high storage guardian though, but I really don't like her. Kovaci, I don't think I would give Kovaci super high runes. I don't like Kovaci in arena or in siege offense or siege defense at the moment as much. Sure, it is usable, but I think I'll give it a high niche because it's usable everywhere, but it's not really something that I will be going crazy over where I'm like, yo, this is absolutely insane. Zenizek, great dark tank for light units in siege offense, and I would definitely like this unit for just the RTA value itself. So I think I would, it's not a highest wanted, but, or like a high wanted, but it's definitely a would be used. I would definitely, I think even like this. I would definitely like a Zenizek. It would cost me some good runes to actually make this thing move in front of my whole team though. Berkhild, I would currently, there is one siege or arena defense with Berkhild, which is not that bad, which is Berkhild into Layla into Leo into Nefties, which makes it where Burkild has a chance to do any debuff, and therefore your Layla will always move due to your Leo, and there's no way for the enemy to cut that unless you go for like a Hay Gang, but even then. So I think it would be a mid-usage niche kind of thing over there. No, actually a little bit higher, because I can see a few more places where I would potentially use her. Secret, though, I'm not a big Secret fan. I think I would honestly place her at an almost never use. It's really one of those units that not a big fan. Kiara, I think I'll give that a placement somewhere over here. Been recently using it a little bit more in siege offenses, but it's not really that crazy. Ian is most of the time kind of lacking damage, but kind of over here as well. I think I'll just place that even like here. Sahat or Sahal, this one, no wait, this one is Sahal. I think I would give that an almost never used. I could see siege defense with it, but nothing that crazy. Diaz is actually a pretty decent unit for siege or for arena defense and siege defense. Arena defense is very simple. You just go for like Vanessa, Triton, this thing, plus a Ren or something stupid that also does damage. And the main thing is he's decently good at countering the Lamilla Tricks team. So he does do a good bit of damage. He stuns them, has good rates of that, can get for the additional turns, can do good damage, and then also boost up the damage output for the Ren. So yeah, I would definitely use him. Is he crazy good though? No. But I think he definitely has some world where he can be used. Then we have the Devaraja. Devaraja, I would say as a late pick for RTA maybe, but to be honest, I like the water version in a lot of cases more. So I'm just going to place him all the way at the bottom. Because I think I would use the water one more than I use the dark one. But I would still give him some usage, I guess. Jessica, I would definitely keep a Jessica rune. Sure, she kind of wants a despair set. It would be nice if she moves in front of your other units. And it would be nice if she cannot be pushed back. That's kind of the thing. But I can see some value of her being usable. But I think I will place her all the way at the top of niche. But it's kind of mid. I think she's not really that crazy. Liliana is definitely fairly mid. I think I'll just place it over here. It's really not that great of a unit. Udong. If I would like to play Udong, I would have to really change up my draft style. And I have to go for probably like a Chandra style of draft, which I probably won't do. But Udong, in all honesty, is definitely not a bad unit. Plus, he's really good in the Temple of Chaos as well. So he definitely has a few like all-round usability. So I think I'll give Udong somewhere of like a would-be use. But would I make Udong a super high wanted? I don't think so. But I would definitely use that unit, yeah. And Gaps is free to play. This thing, in the Venton meta, if Venton is a thing, I would say yes. But since I do know that Venton will be nerfed soon, he definitely lowers down a little bit. So I will give him a pretty high in would be used though. I definitely do think that the Fire Twin Angels are very strong because of good multi-hits, attack buff, having the chance to reset things. I would actually say probably highest in would be used. Or lowest in most wanted. High wanted. No, I would say I give him a lowest in high wanted. I definitely do think that the Light Twin Angels is a really good unit, especially with current style of AoE styling and whatnot. This thing, I'm not a big fan of this unit at all. I can see him being used, but I think in all honesty, I think I would place him over here. Almost never used. I don't think I would draft this thing, to be honest. Lars, this one is kind of a difficult. Like, if Lars goes off, it feels kind of strong, but I think in the end he would end up at an almost never used. I don't think I would keep this thing runed up that much in most cases. Geralt, I would give him a Storage Guardian. No, I would put him on a super low, almost never used. But that. Light Series, actually, I've been liking Light Series quite a bit more for Siege Offense. I'll place it over there. This thing, I really dislike this thing. I'm just going to put it a little bit higher up at an almost never used scenario, probably over here. I really don't like this thing for like just random stunts and that kind of stuff. Garoa, I think she's not that great as well, mainly because the Lamilla Tricks team is just so much better than Dot teams. So she ends up at an almost never used, but I would say that probably like a higher almost never used, somewhere along these lines. She is not that bad. She's kind of a Lucian without the issue for the element, but you have to get more setup in. But in the end, she does do more damage than a Lucian. However, the setup is not that difficult as you might think because she just needs 2 debuffs. And if you go for Lamila skill 3, Lamila skill 3 is branding plus provoke. Branding does up her damage as well. So I definitely do think she is more usable than people give her credit for. It's just a little bit hard to get her towards attack buff, 2 debuffs, and the strip, and everything. So I would give her a niche over here, but I would probably definitely use her, yeah. Light Hacker. Light Hacker is definitely high wanted. I think Light Hacker has a bunch of good defenses out there for just arena defense. It definitely has usability in there, especially since I have the Tianlang. Because of having Tianlang, you get a little bit more flexibility where you don't need triple shield on the Vanessa to counter Lucifer comps. So therefore, with Tianlang and this, I definitely have a little bit more options in that. Plus, I think as a late pick in just normal RTA, I wouldn't first pick it, but as a 4 or 5 pick, I think he has pretty high value. So I'll give that over there. Dark one, in all honesty, this might be weird for a lot of people, but I place this one as very high wanted, or one of the higher wanted, but pretty high up. And the main reason is it's such a crazy good 5th pick in RTA. Plus, it's a really, really good unit for both Siege in offense and for Arena in defense. So, in all honesty, I would even one-up this. This unit is really all-round for current meta. He really shines in exactly what his kit does. So, definitely a few good options for him out there. That's the free-to-play one. That's Jack. Well, now his name is Rick. I definitely do like this unit. I would actually place this one up pretty high. It is really good for Temple of Chaos, but outside of Temple of Chaos, I would definitely use it towards Siege offenses, and I would definitely use it in RTA as well. Probably like it's a Nem Will kind of style, but I really do like Jack. He's pretty hard to kill. On the right draft, he can actually do a lot of value, so I think I would even place him over here. I really like this unit. Nobara on Light, I think she gets a higher Storage Guardian. Megumi on Dark, I am kind of on the point where I have plenty of strips where I don't really think that his strip really add too much to the table. So I'll give him a niche would be used, but not really a big fan. Light Gojo, if I didn't have Light Gojo would be probably located somewhere over here or over there. No, actually, well, it really depends like what other units you have for the Gojo, but in current meta, Gojo definitely feels very, very strong. But I think I'll place Gojo over here. He's really, really strong. Dark Gojo, however, Dark Gojo would definitely also go, I think, up here. Because I think he is good as a 5th pick in RTA. Sure, he can miss, but so can every unit. But also for Siege defense and Arena defense, I have very strong pairs with him. I do have like Maximilian pairs with him. For Arena defense, like if you just have one LD unit for Arena defense, best unit you can go for is a Gojo. So actually, no, I would place him over there. To be honest, I place you over the Wunsa as well. And to be honest, no, actually, I want to place Wunsa a little bit down because Wunsa is not particularly that crazy. Actually, do I want to go even more down on the Wunsa? I think since it's just a 5th pick, I think, no, I'm actually lowering Wunsa by a lot. Yeah, I think that this is a lot more fair. So, yeah, I think that one would go pretty hard over there. This thing, straight up Storage Guardian, absolute garbage. This one, I have seen some options where he's decent, but I'll give him a high up, almost never used. Light Tanjiro, I've seen one player go for Light Tanjiro in combination with a Wu Yong. It didn't look that bad, so I think that he is... I would use him. I think I have enough other units to make him shine where I would say is like, hey, I think I can actually make him work pretty decently even. So I would definitely give him a high would be used. Nezuko Dark, in all honesty, I would use it, but I'm not a big Nezuko Dark fan. Like, sure, it's a good unit, but it's not something that I would play a lot. So will be used, but a lower will be used. Dark Zenny, kind of the same style. I think I would definitely use it, but it's not really a super high wanted. But I think actually we're lowering down you by a bunch, and then yeah, this feels a little bit. This probably feels a little bit more fair. Yep. And how about you? Now you go down the line of that as well. Inosuke Light would be a high wanted. I think I'll place it somewhere along these lines. I feel like his damage output is not really the greatest, but if he lands both his pushback and the cooldown increase and the armor break, he has pretty good value. So I will place him as a high wanted. But in a lot of cases, I feel like Siana might do a little bit more. Mortera, this thing is super annoying for anyone that plays AoE shits in RTA, so this unit is actually really, really good. And I think I place it over there. It's mainly RTA unit, but it's definitely countering like anything that just AoE debuffs and that kind of shit. And then you give a shit on a bar and you place a Nobara next to it on wind, and it's just super annoying to play against. Valeska, I think Valeska goes up here. I think Valeska is super cool, but it's not an insane pull for my kind of draft. But Valeska is definitely very high wanted for me. I really do like Valeska as a unit in current state. Nina, however, Nina goes straight up there, and Nina goes, ooh, if I had a blessing, Nina or Yan Hong. Well, the thing is, Nina's somewhat replaceable by like Nefty / Maximilian, more Maximilian than this. But the difference between the Maximilian and the Nina's is seated at like 40k HP and does more damage than the Maximilian, which is just absolutely bonkers. So yeah, I would say Nina's probably highest. Yeah, I think that in order, these are the highest wanted right there. Moving on next, Light Hwarang. I would still really like a Light Hwarang. He's not an insane pool, but I would still probably place him over here. Not over here. Yeah, maybe I'm overrating him, but I think he's still definitely a unit that's very hard to kill. And it is very strong because of that reason. I haven't seen anyone play him yet on Vampire, but maybe give him a try on Vampire because he's that hard to kill. If he starts cycling and shit, no one can actually give a good kill to him. He's so much more bound to solo shit if he's on Vampire than on Violent. And Violent is cool and all, but if he takes that many turns, sure, he can Violent a lot, but is it really needed? So maybe on Vampire might be the play. Then again, it's just like what I think on paper, it sounds good, but I definitely do like Light Hwarang still as a unit. Dark Jin is Storage Guardian. I do expect him to get a buff, though. Then we have this thing. I would maybe put it towards siege defense. No, I would, or arena defense. I would use this thing. No, I place it over there. It would be used for just some niche annoying things for last minute arena rush defense and maybe some siege offense hits. So it would be used, but not really that crazy. This thing I'm actually not a big fan of. It just doesn't really add too much to what I think it would or should be doing. So I'm just going to be placing that as a mid uses. Maybe underrating the unit, but I don't know. This thing is like the fake Nefties-ish without a speed lead, or, well, does do, yeah, pretty much Nefties-ish kind of things, but without a speed lead. I think I'm going to be placing that somewhere up here. I think she's decent, but maybe she needs just a little bit of a tweak. This thing can actually rock a lot of damage, and I think I'm going to be placing that over there as well. You do need a lot of setup for her to actually do a lot of damage. No, I would say she's more niche. I would probably give her more along these lines, because more of just a siege offense / arena offense nuke, but just needs that much value to actually get in. This thing I've seen a little bit more for people that play a lot of defensive scaling units with like a Heigang and that kind of stuff. It is kind of annoying, this thing on this pair. But it doesn't really fit my playstyle. So for that reason, I'll just place it over there. This thing does have AoE hits with increased cooldown and branding. Does kind of fit my playstyle, but I feel like there's just better options than this unit to be used. So I'll give it like a kind of niche would be used-ish. Dark Nina goes pretty much in the storage. I would definitely not see value of her being used, and this was a misplaced unit. So these are the units. Highest wanted in this case would be Laura into Nina, Yan Hong, and Ragdoll. And on this side, so this would also mean if I do get the chance of choosing my LD5s in scrolls, I would probably go for these three on light. And then on dark, I would probably go this one. And then the third, the Gojo, I'm still a little bit in the mid. Would it be a Gojo? Would it be a Nyx? Or would it be a Viva Chell? Like, those are my three options. Or maybe even a Pater. Kind of depends what I feel like that I lack the most during that time of the positioning. But in current state, I would probably go for these three in that. Eat out, whatever you put in that, you mostly don't get anyways. Eat out, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about this list. And see you as always in the next one. And yes, if I pull any of those for this year, you can call me an insane sacker. So we're going to be pulling those during the next collab, because that's the next time that I'm going to be summoning. And I'm already seated at like 2.5k scrolls. And I'll probably do a little bit of whaling, because you know the kind of channel you're looking at. So see you all later. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.